So it was like the first time I chose
I've
life.
never heard that story, Brian.
I chose life over show business, and it paid off.
And it paid off. All right, I am so excited because I feel like I have like a member of the family now
Well, you do.
in the studio. Bryan Batt, an American actor, producer, and author, best known for his role, many roles, but of course people know you from Mad Men. Of course, we'll get into
You
that.
do one TV show, and then they know you. Thank God.
Yeah, 2 SAG Awards, Broadway performer, author, entrepreneur, and an all-around good guy.
Why, thank you.
Brian, how's the family?
Oh, everybody's hanging in there. We're doing okay. We just had a Crime Stoppers honored my brother the other day.
I saw
and they had
that.
the Jay Batt Award, which I was able to present, and it was just, he did so much good for the city, and I was so proud to be able to present that for him.
Well, okay, let's talk about Jay and his 2 lovely daughters, and Andre. I mean,
When Jay,
you are the uncle.
I am
now.
Uncle Big.
You're the patriarch.
Yes, well, when they were having their children, and I was not going to have children, he said, just think of them as yours too, and I have. But we have a great relationship.
Oh, I know they treat you as not only an uncle but a best friend too.
Yeah, it's great when your nieces call and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to go grab a bite, or let's go get a drink, or just want to hang out with you?" And I like, did something right.
Yeah, we were together at a wedding over the weekend, and it was great to see them so dressed to the nines.
Yeah,
as
well,
they
everyone
always
was. It
look
was a
good.
beautiful wedding.
So, growing up in New Orleans, the envy that I had was that your dad was part of Pontchartrain Beach.
Yes, my grandfather started Pontchartrain Beach way back in '28, and I wrote a book about it called Pontchartrain Beach: A Family Affair. And it was an interesting way to grow up with a roller coaster in your
Did you
backyard.
go like every day?
No. We would go, and because, like, if your parents owned a restaurant, you didn't want to eat the same restaurant.
But I
if
would
your
ride
father's
the
a
Zephyr
doctor, you
every
don't
day.
hang out to get
I would ride the
prescriptions.
Zephyr every day if I could.
When I would go, I would do that, and I really enjoyed it, but it was kind of a litmus test to see who my friends really were. That if all they wanted to do was go to Pontchartrain Beach, then like, aha, you don't want to climb trees and ride bikes and all that stuff. But it was an interesting one. One of my favorite memories was when we'd go as a family and we'd go to Valley High that's where we had most of our like Easter dinners were at,
Valley High, very special place.
With Polynesian and Chinese food. And then we'd cross over to the bandstand and watch from there watch the fireworks.
Right. It was built like a deck of a ship.
A deck of a ship, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it called? Something like that.
Yeah, my dad was with WDSU for so many
Yes.
years, and they would do a lot of broadcasts from there.
Your
Just a
dad
special
and mom,
time.
come on. They were in. I think they were in each other's
Well,
weddings.
My mother stood in your mother's
Yes.
wedding, and
Yeah.
vice versa,
Yeah,
and that's why we got to know each other. And,
Yeah.
and that was Uncle Gail and
yeah. Well,
Aunt Gail.
Aunt Gail and Uncle John.
Sorry,
That's a
we'll edit that
whole
one.
other story.
Aunt Gail and Uncle Johnny.
Don't go bourbon on me.
No, that's right. I'm going rogue.
Don't go gnome.
So let's talk about some of the nonprofit work that you've been doing.
Oh, well, recently, just this last week, I helped with Hotel Hope's Hope Fest. Hotel Hope is a wonderful organization headed by Sister Mary Lou Specca, and it's right on Martin Luther King and Broad, and it's this old motel that she acquired, had it renovated, and it's for homeless mothers and their children. And they can be there about 3 months, and in that time, they get all this counseling. The children get their meals are taken care of. They get counseling. They get tutored, medical care, everything they need to get back on their feet and be a productive member of society and take care of their children.
Yeah, and I know the work that you put into that event.
The
I
event
understand
it was great. It was at Dickie Brennan's Audubon Clubhouse, and it was a gorgeous night. One of the 2 weeks where the weather is so beautiful in New Orleans, you don't want to be anywhere else because it was just one of
It's
those
a magical
nights.
setting.
Oh,
I mean,
you look right out over all the oaks and the food was great. It was fantastic. There wasn't a line for drink or food. The way they set
Flows
everything
well.
up, it flows well.
Yeah.
But you spread everything out.
Yeah. So, did you ever think you'd be an author?
No.
And you've now written several books.
3 books. It really was organic. I started writing these short stories, and it was kind of therapeutic. And I let a friend read them, and they go, "These are funny. You ought to give them to," at the time, a friend of ours, partner was a book agent. And he read them and thought, oh, these are great, but short stories, I don't know. And then when Mad Men hit, he called, he goes, I think I can get you a book deal. So I got the book deal,
amazing how that
but then
works.
you had to finish it. And then because originally I was just writing for the fun of it.
Your process was you were actually at the keyboard, or were you
Oh yeah, no, I was
taping your thoughts?
No, I was typing them, and then I got stuck. And my friend Joe Keenan, who is a wonderful multi-Emmy Award winner for Frasier, he wrote a lot of the Frasers. I said, well, how did you? He goes, just write the stories like you're writing a letter to a dear, dear friend that you haven't seen in a long time, and you have to explain everything to them, and then let your editor, don't edit yourself, get it all out there. So that was an impetus to finish it, and then. We did but at the same time, right around that time, right when I was going to sign the book deal for that, a young lady came into the store who was an editor at Random House, and for the design, area, and she goes, "I love Hazelnut. I love your store. I love your aesthetic, whatever." And she goes, "If you write a book about interiors, what would you do? Come pitch it to us." And I'm like, "I'm not a designer. I've designed homes. I've helped with my mom's and my brothers and my sister-in-law and other friends, but that's not the shingle that I hang on the door." But I did. I walked in and I pitched the idea. I said, I'm just going to take pictures of beautiful homes and tell you why I like it and my philosophy. And some of my philosophical design tips are, don't be afraid of color. What did it ever do to you? If it looks right, it is right. And paint your house in the colors that you look good in. I remember one time this color came in, this kind of acidy green, apple green, and oh, I love this color. It's so pretty. And I painted the bathroom, little bathroom in New York, this color. And the next morning I walked in, and I looked in the mirror I looked sick in the room. And I was like, nope, I don't look good in this color. We got to fix that. So, but it was, and they liked it, and they bought it. And as I'm walking out of there, the book agent said, Bryan, be careful. You're biting off a lot right now. And it's like, oh, it's fine. And that was the hardest book to do.
Was it?
That was because we had to do all the photo shoots. You had to set up the photo shoots, and, be in the trenches. And it was harder. But now
literally going around to all these
the different homes, scouting the homes. And it was very eclectic. We wanted to have a whole, it wasn't just this pretty old French New Orleans, style. It had a complete myriad of styles. And then the third book, about Pontchartrain Beach came about because the tricentennial was coming up, and no one had ever written a book about Pontchartrain Beach. And as we get older, less and less, fewer people remember it.
Yeah.
But when my mother passed, we were going through her boxes in the garage. We thought we were going to find the Lindbergh baby. I'm not kidding. I was like, she kept everything. Letters from me from camp. I think my brother. It was crazy. It was sweet, but we could only go through a certain amount, my brother and I, and then we'd start to tear up and would have to stop. But we found these two boxes, these big boxes, that had not been opened since Pontchartrain Beach had closed. And they were from my father's office. And it was all his memorabilia, all the pictures from his walls, everything. And I found, and that's what that was the idea. And also that year, they introduced the big float, the Pontchartrain Beach float in Endymion.
Oh, yes.
And my cousin Kevin texted me with the picture because I was out of town. I couldn't see it. And he goes, it's like Uncle Johnny's right here. It's like, this is so beautiful. And it was, it made my heart, So that's why we wrote the book.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting thing because I kept on saying, who's the graphic editor? Who's going to do the design? And then the publisher was like, oh, don't worry. We have someone to do that. And we're getting closer to it. And I'm like, well, where I got to meet with this person because it's a visual book. There's all these great pictures. It's got to be colorful. I have ideas, and they said, well, no, we just have a copy editor. And I'm like, that isn't what you told me. So within 3 weeks, I had to put together, when you're in 4th grade or 5th grade, you make a book, you you do the design. That's what I had to do with exactly, what font, how to angle the pictures, what's going to be a full bleed, what's going to go 2 pages, what's everything.
It was almost like self-publishing.
Yes, it was.
That's amazing.
But it was a lesson, make sure you get it in writing.
Yeah. The book, She Ain't Heavy, She's My Mother, was the first?
The first.
And that very special book. My family has enjoyed that.
You
Every now and then go back into it because
I did it.
Gail Batt.
She was a force of
an
nature.
iconic lady.
Iconic lady. She, I adored her. I adore her. Just recently at the Tulane Book Fair, the New Orleans Book Fair. Cheryl Andrew does an incredible
Yeah,
job.
Cheryl Andrew and
it's amazing. And she had just
Walter
lost her
Isaacson
mother
have
right
done a
before,
wonderful.
the book fair, and she was there and did the whole thing. I don't know how she did it, but Michael Lewis was one of my brother's good friends from Newman, and he was Jay and he were at Newman together, and his brother and I were in the same class together, and he wanted to do. They asked him to do a panel, and he said, "Well, I don't have a book out. I don't have a new book." And he said, wait. He wasn't able to be in for Jay's funeral. So he says, "I want to do Bryan's book. We'll do it together. And we're just going to talk about New Orleans." And I'm like, well, okay, if Michael's going to do it, fine. And then he said, "We're going to talk about your book." I'm like, "Michael, my book's 15 years old." And he read it. He'd not read it. And he read it, and in the places, I will say this, I'm not bragging, but we had overflow.
Yeah.
And it was because of Michael. I mean, because Michael's this huge, famous author.
I would
and
say
writer.
both of you.
Well, we had so much fun. But he said in front of this whole crowd, he's like, "Bryan, you're a natural writer. You have to continue writing. Write another book." And I said, "Well, I have an idea." He goes, "You heard it here." That's like,
Heard it here first.
I was like, "Here's
New Orleans
your
Book
famous
Fest.
last words."
That's great. Well, good point about the New Orleans Book Festival and,
It's
and what they've done.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best in the country, and
Yeah,
it's
both.
only 5 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, what a testament.
Cheryl Andrew and Walter Isaacson,
Walter
have
Isaacson are
really,
just
really
amazing.
made it work. All right, talk about your current projects. What's happening?
Well, I just wrapped a wonderful film called The Statement, and it's directed and written by Tom McCarthy, who won the Oscar for Spotlight. He also wrote and directed The Station Agent.
Spotlight was the story of the Boston
Priest
Archdiocese.
Boston Globe,
issue,
yeah. And then he also did The Station Agent, which Patty Clarkson was nominated for I think a Golden Globe, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful director writer. It was the most wonderful film experience I've ever had, and a lot of the other actors on the projects thought the same thing, and also in the cast is Paul Rudd, Paul Giamatti, John Turturro, Amy Ryan, Evan Peters, Michael Cerveris, Dylan Baker. I mean, it's just the best, and I was so honored to be a part of that.
Wow, what a cast!
And it's
in post-production now.
It's in post-production, so who knows what it's going to come out.
Yeah.
But with that pedigree, I'm knocking wood that it's gonna, because everyone was so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And he was just he thanked the stand-ins by name at the end of filming, and Amy and I were talking like, "Have you ever seen anybody do this?" And we're like, "No, I've never seen anyone do that." And I just thought, wow.
That sounds like a great
It was
teamwork.
It was
that
a
really
joy
came
to
together.
go to set every morning at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is I did texted Tom one day and I said, "I'm leaving my trailer in Chalmette right now." I never thought I'd ever be typing that, but
That's good.
but it's beautiful. I mean, the studio is fantastic, and it's when you leave your house at 5:30, there's no one on the streets practically.
Straight down St. Claude.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything in New York?
No, but there might be something in London. So
good.
it looks like I might be in London doing a new musical this summer
Very nice.
for my friend Harry Shearer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun.
When you know more about that, or
I will.
when
I
you
will
can
let you
say
know.
more about it, you can come back, right?
And we're also I wrote a play called Dear Mr. Williams that I did at Le Petit several years ago, and they finally worked all the details out with the agents that represent Tennessee Williams' estate, because 1/3 of the play is Tennessee Williams' words from his plays, his movies, his short stories, his poetry, interviews, you name it. And they had to figure out how to do the rights, and then 2/3 are my words, and it took like 4 years for them to iron this
Well,
out.
we saw a production of that at Le Petit.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
Well, it was exhausting. I have to get in shape to do that again, because it's an hour and 40 minutes of just me blabbing.
It's just you solo on that stage.
It was the most exciting, but also the most frightening thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful what you wish for.
Entrepreneur, you and Tom have
Hazelnut
operated Hazelnut
for 23 years.
Tell us about the creation of Hazelnut, the name, and what you have enjoyed about that.
Well, it's named Hazelnut because my wonderful grandmother Hazel. I like to say, her name was Hazel and she was a nut.
Is Hazel McEnroe?
Hazel McEnroe, but her maiden name was Nuss, which actually means nut in German. So my great-grandparents had a sense of humor. But we adored her, and many years ago, we produced. Was in Forever Plaid off Broadway and all over the country, and directed it all over the country. And we loved the show, so we wanted to do it at Le Petit over the summer while I was in Sunset Boulevard. And my grandmother just recently passed away, and we had to come up with a production company name. And he goes, "How about Hazelnut Productions?" Of course, Mom and I teared up, and so I was like, "Yes." So we kept the name, and it's been successful for like 23 years on Magazine Street, 5525.
It's been sort of an anchor on Magazine Street for many years.
I'd like to say that. As I was walking into the studio today, a young lady said, "I love your store." Like, thank you.
That's wonderful.
It's always nice to hear positive, because a lot of times, everyone's so eagerly ready to criticize. But I got this trait from my mother. When something's really great and somebody does something wonderful, let them know.
Yeah. Well, you know what's good about many things about Hazelnut that's so nice, locally owned, and there's always an owner in the store.
Pretty much, yes.
And you walk in and there's either Tom or you or both
or Katie, our
Katie,
other partner.
That's right. And people like that,
Yes, and we, nowadays, because shopping, a lot of it's mostly online now. You have to make it an experience. I still like going into, clothing and everything else. I want to touch it, see it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nice because people come in, and every time people come in, they're like, "Oh, I just love it in here. It's so happy." We always have some great scented candle burning, and they say, "Oh, it smells so good." And I go, "It's me. It's me. I smell it."
Well, talk about that retail along Magazine Street, the importance of that.
Well, I never thought I'd be in this business. I really didn't. But it's, when an opportunity happens, I always say, try it. Why not? And Tom and I always wanted to do something like this. And I was supposed to do this big Broadway show for Cameron McIntosh, and I had done the workshops. They had even recorded the CD, the promo CD, and then he pulled at the last minute to do Mary Poppins on Broadway. And I was like, "Oh, I have all this time. The auditions, I've turned down other things." And just at that time, had done the business plan to do the store. And I said, "Well, let's do it now and open it up, and then I can go back." And really, that was the plan, to open up the store, then go back to New York and go back and forth. Well, a business is like a child. You have to be there. But the deal was, I got to, once we opened, I could go back and forth and do my thing. So I did a couple more Broadway shows and plays after that, and then Mad Men out in L.A. And it really has worked out. It really has been. But I've always loved design. I've always loved interiors and home furnishings and making things look nice.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Mad Men experience?
Sure.
Tell us about the Mad Men experience.
Tell about the Mad Men experience. Well, I turned down my first audition. Turned it down. I didn't.
Was it for Salvatore?
It was Salvatore, yeah. Okay, it has a Katrina thing to it. So Katrina was coming. We were in California. We could not get back. And I saw, you saw the radar, you saw the Gulf was just, and my mother was terrified of hurricanes. Jay was a councilman at the time, so he was taking care of getting his family out, and Mom said, "I'm fine, I've got my flight, everything's fine." So Jay got his family out and was coming back, and my mother called in a panic saying, "My flight's been canceled," and she needed like a hip replacement and knee replacement at the time. And she was getting up in age. So, I said, "Don't worry, we're going to figure this out." Right then, my godchild, Ramsey Schmitz, called, and she goes, "B, I thought I was going to have to stay, but I've been released, but my car won't start." And I said, "Well, you have the keys to our house. My car keys in there. Go get the car, but you have to take my mother with you to use Dallas." So she said, "Of course, of course." So not only did she take our car and our mother, she and her father boarded up our house, raised everything up in the house in case water came in, and did the same for the store. So she saved the house, the car, my mom, not necessarily in that order, but everything.
Right.
So we thought, how are we going to thank her? And we said she'd never been out of the country. She always wanted, she got a passport, but she hadn't been out of the country yet. So we planned a trip to Paris for her to surprise her. Broke the bank. We said, how do you have to do a proper thank you? And my audition for Mad Men came right in the middle of that trip. And, Tom was like, "You have to turn it down. You can't." I said, can they see me at another time? Like, "No, this is when they're seeing people." And this is before people were self-taping and all that. This is way back in 2006. So I turned it down, and I said, "Well, if they don't find who they want, please, I'll be happy to come in." So I was in New York several months later, rehearsing a little off-Broadway play, and my agents called and they said they didn't find who they wanted. Can you go in on your lunch break? And I went in on my lunch break, and when I came out, I called my agent. They said, well, you got it. So it was like the first time I chose
I've
life.
never heard that story, Brian.
I chose life over show business, and it paid off.
And it paid off.
And Tom was a casting director for a little while, and he goes, Brian, you don't understand the power of no. Because sometimes when you say no, they just want you more.
Very good.
You always want what you can't have. But it worked out. And we had no idea what it was going to be. You know, it was AMC's first foray into, episodic television.
Yeah.
And of that quality. Because, then their second was Breaking Bad, and the rest is history. But it was, we thought no one was going to see it. And if it was on any other network, it might have not had the life that it had because our numbers were not great.
Yeah.
But they believed in it. And it was the press. It was the press and the media that really made it a hit because they basically everywhere you look, go watch this show,
Right. I was working for an advertising agency at the time when it came out, and it was a must see for, particularly for people who work for agencies.
So many people
Like, wow,
told
is
me.
that how it was?
Yeah, so many people told me that is exactly how it was.
Yeah.
Which is kind of frightening.
That's fantastic.
It was the character was the reason why my character was fired.
Yeah. So help me understand that.
He was they were Lucky Strike was the client, and I was directing the commercial and we're editing, and he came on to me. He was like, tried to have sex, wanted to play around, and I was like, no, I'm married, but it was and he went to the top and said, no, I don't want this guy on it. I don't want this guy.
The spurning of him,
and they
made him
fired.
upset.
They could turn the lights off here. That's our biggest client.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
goodbye. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it was a
Thanks.
Thanks,
writers.
and also, and they kept on telling me like, you can come back. And then, Matt Weiner later said, he goes, I wrote you off so well, I couldn't figure out a good way to bring you back. Like, no, it was heaven. It was such a great experience, and it was just it was just the most wonderful thing because we had no idea. We had no idea that it was going to be
Such a hit.
Yeah,
and then it's still remembered. And your character, Brian,
people still come up to me like, "What happened to
one of the
Sal?"
favorite characters of that series, even though it,
I only did the first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. I'll never forget walking in Audubon Park, and my friend, I was walking with Katie, and her phone went off, and she goes, "Y'all are nominated for the SAG Awards." And then I think it was the Emmys or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like all these things, and then all these, there's some crazy stories. Like when they did a photo shoot for GQ, they flew us out, and I just had some dental work done, and my front tooth it's a laminate popped off, and I'm like, we're shooting for GQ freaking magazine, and thank God I didn't have to smile because like
that would have been interesting. Yes.
yeah, it was interesting because my character was not supposed to be it was just supposed to be a little supporting, and it was just supporting. I only had like one or
But your character had such grace and style.
well, he also had a great storyline,
Yeah.
because he was, so he was swimming with the sharks,
Right.
and he could be found out at any moment, and he was discovering it at the same time.
Which mirrored a lot of people in the corporate
Totally,
world.
it
And,
still happens.
yeah.
I call it Uptown Straight.
yeah. Gotcha. Hey, y'all, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and turn on your notifications. Please follow us. We've got new shows each and every week. And a very, very special thanks to all of our sponsors who are making this possible. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.